Stop, you were born to fail. In a world full of negativity, the last thing I want to experience is that negativity being in my own thoughts. Like I'll just be sitting around doing something and all of a sudden I hear or vision something very disturbing. I know that whatever popped up in my head is not something I would ever believe or even say out loud. These thoughts are commonly called intrusive thoughts. Thoughts that are often caused by stress and or anxiety. What are intrusive thoughts? To be honest, I have no idea. If I had to guess, I'd say that it's just our minds coming up with the worst scenarios possible. I'm not exactly sure what intrusive thoughts are, but I can talk about them and try to better understand them. What started off as just stupid thoughts like, yeah, if I fail to make it to that stop sign before that car does, then I'm gonna die, turned into disturbing thoughts that I'm just so sick of imagining. With the pressure that I have of figuring out what I'm gonna do with my life, I've started to experience anxiety of what could happen. And that, I feel, led to my intrusive thoughts getting even worse. And now I overthink a lot. Sometimes I wonder if the future will actually turn out as I hoped, and then other times I'll just think about it if I'm just walking and some random guy would just stab me, or if, I'm just driving in my car and then I get into a car crash, or, someone else crashes into me, and then I'll have to eat out of a straw for the rest of my life. And it gets even worse because not only do I think these things about myself, but also about the people that I actually care about. With the way the world is right now, it's hard to not think about how different our lives can just change, with high tensions throughout all the countries, or even maybe a huge meteor could just hit us at any time. But I know that these things are just thoughts I get. There's no way for me to know for certain, and so honestly, I just don't really think about the future as much as I used to anymore. I mean, why think about it, when all it does is just make me worry. Right now, I just try to focus on today and what's the best thing I can do right now, rather than just, thinking about all these other things that, might not even happen. Intrusive thoughts don't just make me overthink things that could happen in my life. They also sometimes make me overthink myself. As a Christian, it's hard dealing with intrusive thoughts. They often lead me into temptation by making me feel some sort of way. And I know that it's not only a Christian thing, but a thing that everyone struggles with, when you get thoughts that bring you down and make you start to look at yourself as someone you're not. When you get a thought of things you would never want to think about, whatever you just thought of, it's not something you would ever believe or you would never say out loud, but you still can't get over the fact that you still thought it. And for me, that makes me feel like a terrible person sometimes, if I'm being honest, and that usually ends up in me doing something that will make me feel good for a moment, and usually something that I shouldn't be doing, and then after I've done it, I end up feeling a lot worse, and of course my intrusive thoughts get worse along with it. The way I see it now, though, is that, when it comes to intrusive thoughts like this, you aren't the only one who gets these things. As humans, we view the world through our own eyes, and we sometimes forget that other people are more similar to ourselves than we think. Instead of thinking that you're a terrible person, focus on who you truly are. Not what you think or how you think others see you as, but the actions you make and the things you actually say out loud to other people. And if you're trying to be a better person because of mistakes that you've made in the past, your intrusive thoughts might try to convince you that you can't change or you're irredeemable. But again, like I've said before, only viewing it as you see. Do not have your own understanding and view things only as you see it. Because the truth is that no matter how far down you are, you can always be redeemed. And don't ever, let yourself or anyone else tell you otherwise. I hate intrusive thoughts because of the things they make me think of. One of the things I hate the most is how they make me hate myself. I overthink a lot when it comes to how I view myself sometimes. That I'll get judged by everyone, or people would just see me as weird and foolish. And I actually start to look at others differently because of that. But the only one who is judging is myself. I fall for this trap of thinking that the only way to live is to be normal, and anything out of the ordinary is something I should be ashamed of. For example, if I've done something in the past my intrusive thoughts will never let me forget about it. Any bad experience I've had will never be forgotten. That one embarrassing moment is what I'm afraid will happen again, or creating a new scenario that could become a new bad memory. But I also realize that fear is what's holding me back. Thinking of every bad outcome and only focusing on the negative is what's causing me to get these intrusive thoughts. So instead of worrying about them and giving them all my attention, I've learned to just ignore them. I don't pretend they're not there, but I know that they're wrong. They're just nothing but unwanted thoughts and ideas, things that I fear and don't want to happen. If my intrusive thoughts will always be negative, then why should I listen to them? How about instead of remembering all the bad times and trying not to let those moments happen again, I should start remembering all the good times, all the good memories that I've had of being myself. Bad memories are normal. None of us will live a perfect life, but only trying to live a life of preventing bad things is far from living a good one. So what have we learned about intrusive thoughts? Well, that's it. They're just thoughts that intrude on our actual thoughts, just our fears of what could happen and how we could see ourselves and others. Pretty much the worst scenarios we can think of. I'm still not 100% sure on, why we do this to ourselves so much, but I did come up with, some things that could be a possibility. Like maybe it's the things we fill our minds with, like music, TV, videos, maybe some negative things that, you saw or heard. I'm not sure. This is just my opinion. I'm nowhere near a professional. Actually, as a matter of fact, if you do have really bad intrusive thoughts, you should actually talk to someone who is a professional, or at least someone who has once struggled with them, and, see what they think. I'm still struggling to deal with my intrusive thoughts, and, sometimes they're not as bad. Sometimes it's hard to even do anything. But I guess that's just how it is. There's a problem, and we have to learn how to fix it and get through it. But what I do is I pray for help whenever I feel stuck, and with a little bit of patience, I'll be alright. But yeah, that'll do it for now. Thank you for watching. I pray that whoever is going through something that, you'll make it out in one piece. And yeah, peace.